Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. I want to discuss the events in Southport, but purely from the angle of the concept of honesty. But first, Elsie Stankham, Alice De Silva Aguiar, and Baby King. The three small girls who were killed by a 17-year-old at a dance class. Now, honesty comes into it because when you and I heard that story, our initial reaction was just feeling sick. How could we let this happen? What can be done to prevent it happening again? What was wrong with him? What can we put into schools to make sure that they can spot the early warning signs of this kind of mentality? And then when we heard that the suspect, while he was born in Wales, had Rwandan parents, some of us might have tried to draw some kind of connection, looking desperately for an explanation of why he was like this. And the furthest that any normal person might have gone is maybe theorizing that if he's 17 years old, his parents might be mid-40s or something like that, and they were probably around at the time of the Rwandan genocide in 1994, and maybe that created generational trauma that messed up the kid, just reaching in the dark for something that might make sense. But what did our right-wing politicians do? They immediately started to imply that it was terrorism.
The police say it's a non-terror incident, just as they said the stabbing of an Army Lieutenant Colonel in uniform on the streets of Kent the other day was a non-terror incident. I just wonder whether the truth is being withheld from us. I don't know the answer to that, but I think it is a fair and legitimate question.
And then the right-wing side of the internet flooded with conspiracy theories that it was a Muslim asylum seeker who'd come over on a small boat, which then led to hundreds of far-right thugs rioting in Southport outside a mosque and attacking police officers. Now, we don't know the details yet. We still don't even know the guy's name, but the far-right just made one up that sounded vaguely Muslim.
His name is Ali Al-Kati, a very Welsh-sounding name.
Which is especially insane because Rwanda is an over 90% Christian country, with barely 4% being Muslim. And no, I'm not saying they should have just hedged their bet and attacked a church, but I am saying they're deliberately and dishonestly using the situation to express their hatred of Muslims. Because they don't care about those three little girls. They don't care about their grieving parents. They don't care about the first responders who tried to save those girls, some of whom would have been among the 50 police officers who were injured in their riots. Because if they cared, they would have asked themselves, would those grieving parents prefer to have some quiet time to grieve or for their neighborhood to be turned into an ethno-religious battleground? Once again, the far right does not care about the things they claim to care about. They say they care about Elsie, Alice, and Bibi. They don't. Their actions prove that. They say they care about our national security. They were the same people who were rioting against lockdown with hundreds of thousands of lives on the line. They say they care about working class people. Well, I went on a march with Tommy Robinson a few years back, yes, I know, and I spoke to his right-hand man, Danny Tomo, and got him to admit that he knew that supporting Brexit would make this country poorer.
It's not about the businesses, it's about the people voted for. Democracy comes through what people vote for, and then we'll work on the tariffs, we'll work on these things.
Exactly. So if the trade barriers come in, we'll be poor for a bit, but it's about sovereignty, it's about the principle.
Absolutely. In the long term, we've been through 2 world wars, we'll always come out all right.
I proved that Katie Hopkins does not give a crap about the struggles of working class people.
How will Brexit improve the lives of people who are really struggling in this country?
Because, there's a lot to be said for feeling like your country belongs to you. There's a lot to be said. There's a lot to be said for having pride in your country. And there's a lot to be said for feeling like you voted for something that made you feel like your grandfather, the country he fought for, you were going to fight in that same way to take it back. And that's the essence, I think, and this is why we will probably always disagree, that you can't distill that into a thing or put food on the table. But what you can say is it gave us all hope.
And I got 3 Reform Party candidates to admit that they support a Brexit which they believe will damage our food supply for the next 20 years. So when all the issues that the far right claim to care about, whether it's the safety of little girls, whether it's working class people, whether it's national security, they're always lying to you. It's just an excuse to promote racism. They don't care about our lives. They don't care about protecting the kids. It's just for racism. And the absolute avalanche of racist abuse that I've had on Twitter in the last 48 hours makes that very clear to me. I really hope they figure out exactly what went wrong with this 17-year-old so that it never happens again. I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.